Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode. Happy Tuesday, or whatever day this is coming to you on. We got some stuff we're doing today. So, today we're talking about manifestation. And I have done a lot of work around trying to manifest a completely different life for myself. And if you're new here, I used to struggle with addiction. I'm active in the AA community, and I've done a lot of spiritual and energy work to really be able to get myself to a completely different timeline. And in that, I have done a lot of work around manifestation because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, whenever I first heard about manifestation, I thought it was like a shortcut, right? Like I can just write like $1 million on a bay leaf, burn it, and then tomorrow it's in my bank account, right? Not actually how it works. But I didn't know that, right? Because there's so much misconception online about what manifestation is, how it works. Some people are like, I manifested $1 million overnight. And there's a little more that goes into it that I've learned. And so I've sort of come up with like a recipe for manifestation, if you want to call it that. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how to actually manifest. So, what I want you to do, pause the video, get out a sheet of paper, get out something to doodle on to be able to kind of walk through this in your own space. So, what I want you to do, pause, get something to write with, think about what you want to manifest if you're not sure, and then come back to the video and press play whenever you're ready. So, what we're going to do is we are going to put in the middle of our circle, what do you want to manifest? What we want to manifest is normally going to be something 3D. So, we're today going to work through the example of money. Right now, we're in a space where the economy is funny, let's just say. And a lot of people are trying to manifest money, but they don't realize that there's other things that they're actually trying to manifest outside of money and limiting beliefs that are keeping them from being able to manifest that. So that's what we're going to work through today. So in mine, I have, the example of what do you want to manifest? Just money. But then I want you to think about what will it feel like when I have this? So I want you to think about and maybe just be in that energy for a moment. If you manifest that money, that abundance, that job, that person, that whatever, what is that going to feel like? Is it going to feel expansive? Is it going to feel relieving? Is it going to allow you to have the feeling of freedom? Is it going to allow you to overcome maybe financial blocks that have been keeping you stuck? What are you going to feel when you have this thing? Because most of the time, what we want or what we think we want is this thing, but what we actually want is the feeling that that thing is going to give us. So just now, if you kind of tuned into the energy of what does it feel like, and if you noticed your energy shift, your mood switched, that's you actually getting to be an energetic match for that thing that you want to manifest. So most of the time, we don't go around all day just in a state of abundance and gratitude and, bliss and excitement, but that is one of the main states that helps to bring manifestations in, because there's also a very high level of authenticity that comes with that. So that's definitely something that's really a manifestation amplifier. Okay, so now we want to manifest money. It'll feel like relieving and freeing and exciting. And what I wrote down for myself is freedom, security, peace, and independence as what will it feel like when I have it. So then I put down, what do you actually want to manifest? So now that you know you actually want to manifest freedom, security, peace, independence, what does that amount to? This might take you a minute to think about, so if you need to pause and come back, totally can do that. What it came down to for me is I put it into kind of a sentence. I want a business that impacts the masses and allows me to make my impact my income. And that is truly what it comes down to. I definitely feel called to, go to a lot of different places and cities and fairs and things like that, and just share my story and work with people that are trying to unlock these things. But I want to ultimately get to a point where I do it where I'm just in this state of constant abundance and just constantly trusting in the universe and money and opportunities and just knowing that everything's coming together, even if I can't see anything but the next stair, right? And so that is something that, I've personally just been working through. So now we have what we actually want to manifest, but even though we know what we want to manifest, we cannot manifest if our subconscious is not on board. So, what I mean by that is if we have any limiting beliefs, even if these are subconscious limiting beliefs, as maybe I wrote down, I want a business that impacts the masses and allows me to make my impact my income. So, a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was thinking about this business, I couldn't have said something like this out loud without having a lot of limiting beliefs around it, right? Some of the limiting beliefs that come to mind that I experienced is this is not traditional, and that feels very scary. For me personally, I did the traditional American corporate life for, up until probably 28 or so, maybe closer to 30. I don't know. Well, probably closer to 30. And so basically, I worked in the corporate world doing corporate HR for like 10 years. And that felt safe, right? I was always sort of told that, like, you go to college, you get a job, you work for somebody else for 30 years, and that's how you're sort of like quote unquote safe. And so some of the limiting beliefs that came to mind when I was thinking about this reality that I want to build is it's not traditional. That's a limiting belief because I didn't know how people made money in non-traditional ways. Pretty much everybody in my family did the go to college, get a job, work for somebody else for 30 years. Nobody really went out on their own and maybe had long-term success with that. So I then had the limiting belief, like, no one in my family has done it, so like maybe I should just like stay in my lane, right? Then I would say this is the biggest limiting belief that I had. What will people think? And by that, I mean, like, definitely when I was starting this business, I a lot of times was shrinking myself and my abilities and my knowledge to not make people think, so people didn't think I was weird or people didn't think I was too much or whatever, right? But with that came a limited audience. And the more I let go of that and started to acknowledge the right people will find me and started to show up more authentically, then that went away, right? Because when you're with the right people, you don't have to worry about what they think because you guys are, on the same plane of vibration or same understanding, whatever. So that's what I want you guys to write down now is, just your limiting beliefs. If you've been writing them down as I talk, amazing. And then we are going to do a little affirmation and I'm going to give you guys some homework. So, after you write down your limiting beliefs, we are going to say this affirmation together. I release all limiting beliefs, keeping me from stepping into my highest timeline. I release all limiting beliefs, keeping me from stepping into my highest timeline. And so now what I want you to do is for 3 minutes a day for the next 3 weeks, I want you to visualize this manifestation being yours. That energy we tapped into at the beginning, what does it feel like when I have that thing? Get into that energy. Visualize yourself being that person, having that thing, being in the moment. That is one of the biggest things for manifestation is you have to regularly put yourself in a state where you are a vibrational match for the thing you want to manifest. Because if you're like, I want to manifest $1 million, but deep down you haven't worked through maybe your shadow self, you haven't worked through your limiting beliefs, you haven't worked through your insecurities, you can say, I want to manifest $1 million all you want until you deal with these things, it's not going to come. And that was a very specific lesson for me to learn because some of the things that I'm trying to manifest now are things that if I would have said that I wanted to manifest, even a year ago, there would have been a piece of me that would have been like, oh no, that's too much, let's shrink because that's maybe practical for other people, but not for me, right? And a lot of times we create these narratives and these stories in our minds, and those can be rewritten, right? But it definitely takes a lot of work and time and energy to do so. So my final takeaway is if you want high vibe things, you also have to match that vibration. So, this is something that I hope you guys were able to just kind of go through and really be able to tap into like what feels good for me, right? Because I think sometimes when we're manifesting or we think we're manifesting, we're in this state of scarcity. And then when we shift into the energy that we actually want to be in, it's a very different energy a lot of times than how we're approaching our manifestation, right? So save this video, come back to it as many times as you need to. If you're new here, I would love to have you join the community. I have a online community on my website as well, where I have a sort of mystery school type membership. I also do in-person and virtual Akashic Records readings, and I do have a few other modalities I work with that you guys can find all on my website, linked in the show notes or in my bio. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you on Thursday for our next episode. Happy healing!